any of the European war for brutality. As Busser's forces inched westward, using those armoured SS spearheads as a vanguard, they had to maintain a fighting retreat at their rear to fend off Zhukov's men in the east. 3 breakouts were attempted, all of which were contained by the Soviets, with heavy losses on both sides. For those in the centre of the Cauldron, life was little easier, as they endured constant air and artillery attack. As one regimental commander later recalled, the shelling was so intense that he could barely raise his head. "All I could do was lie under a tank with my adjutant and look at the map." In this way, German forces would be contained and systematically reduced. Barely 20,000 men escaped the Halbe Cauldron, making their way in dribs and drabs through Soviet lines to join up with Wenck's 12th Army, which would, in time, surrender to the Americans. The remainder were either captured by the Soviets or killed. Among the former there were some significant names, including Obergruppenführer Matthias Kleinheisterkamp, commander of the 9th SS Panzer Corps, and the thoroughly odious Obergruppenführer Friedrich Jeckeln, who, as commander of one of the infamous Einsatzgruppen, had been responsible for the cold-blooded murder of over 100,000 Jews earlier in the war. Kleinheisterkamp is thought to have committed suicide. Jeckeln would be hanged for his crimes. One who survived the carnage was Colonel Hans von Luck, whose capture brought to end a remarkable military career which had spanned Poland in 1939, France in 1940, Operation Barbarossa, North Africa, and Normandy. Some 30,000 German soldiers did not survive Halbe, a figure broadly comparable in scale to the entire Allied death toll in the Battle for Normandy of 1944. In addition, an estimated 20,000 Soviet soldiers were killed, as well as around 10,000 civilian dead. Halbe clearly was no sideshow. This collection of first-hand accounts tells the story of the battle and its aftermath from the German perspective. It is an eclectic mix containing the recollections of ordinary soldiers, from enlisted men to senior officers, and civilians, as well as SS men, men of the Panzer Divisions, even the former mayor of Halbe himself. It brings to life the grim realities of this most one-sided engagement, and contains numerous harrowing vignettes highlighting the ever-present threat of the brutal vengeance of the Soviets, the Red Army's material superiority, and the desperation just to escape the slaughter. Interestingly, some of the accounts presented here make reference to so-called Seydlitz troops, German POWs who had been turned by the Soviets and were now sent behind German lines to sow disinformation and chaos. In truth, Seydlitz troops, which were named after a German POW of the Soviets, General Walter von Seydlitz-Kurbach, were a figment of the fevered German imagination of 1945. Though Seydlitz was a prominent mouthpiece for Red Army propaganda aimed at German soldiers, such troops were never given the operational go-ahead by Stalin, and there is no evidence beyond the anecdotal that they ever fought. It is perhaps testament to the desperation that many German soldiers and civilians felt in the maelstrom of war that resulted in Halbe that so many of them appeared to have believed in such a chimera. Aside from the vicarious, visceral thrill of reading such accounts, one must bear in mind that they have a purpose. The Battle of Halbe scarcely registers with most readers, even those rather well-versed in the intricacies of World War II in Europe. In addition, most of those who write the histories that we read regrettably lack the language skills necessary to access new material and original sources. Consequently, events like the Battle of Halbe struggle to penetrate the established narrative and so continue to languish in comparative obscurity, until a volume such as this one presents an opportunity for change, for a shift, however modest, in the story. This is to be welcomed, however difficult the subject matter, however discomforting the stories.